Sunlight streamed through the ancient arched glass window, painting a shimmering ribbon of light across the marble floor of the grand hall in von Richter Castle. On the broad steps, guests in resplendent evening dress, nobles, merchants, business partners, murmured in anticipation. They had gathered at this venerable fortress, nestled among verdant pines on the outskirts of Zurich, to celebrate a momentous business alliance between two mighty financial empires, Richter International and Devereux and Company. To the left of the dais stood Madame Victoria Devereux, the esteemed chairwoman of Devereux & Co., radiating regal dignity, her silver hair coiffed high, her proud face queenly. Beside her, Mr. Henri Devereux bore a classical mien, clutching the alliance charter in his left hand while his right rested on his youngest daughter's shoulder. Emilia Devereux wore a simple ivory gown, her back was straight, her eyes a mingling of anxiety and ceremony. She lowered her head, her hand trembling as she held the marriage contract, a document binding both sides on shares, profits, and exceptional privileges. On the opposite side of the podium, Mr. Frederick von Richter, the founding chairman of Richter International, was draped in a charcoal suit, a cold smile curving his lips, his gaze sweeping the assembled company. Beside him stood his only son, Liam von Richter, newly appointed CEO. In a classic black suit and charcoal tie, his slicked-back black hair and chiseled features rarely betrayed emotion. When the crystal lights shone directly on him, he appeared as a solitary statue amid the hall's grandeur. Drumbeats echoed through the space. Madame Victoria bowed her head solemnly and invited everyone to be seated. Mr. Frederick stepped to the podium, scanned the crowd with his eyes, then spoke in a warm, resonant voice. Today we stand at the threshold of a new era in our business relations. To mark our enduring commitment, the Devereux and von Richter families will form an unbreakable familial alliance. The marriage of our young ones will extend the bonds between us. Polite applause rippled through the hall. Camera shutters clicked furiously as photographers captured the historic moment. Mr. Henri gently placed his hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Emilia, are you ready?" She merely nodded, lips pressed tight, her eyes betraying her tension. Her heart felt pierced by 1,000 needles, yet her lips sustained a courteous smile. She stepped forward and set pen to paper. The lights revealed every line of her face, exposing the anxiety beneath her regal composure. Liam von Richter appeared at her side, tall and imposing. He glanced at Emilia with cold detachment, offering no greeting. When she extended the pen, he produced his own branded pen, decisive, precise strokes. In an instant, the contract was stamped and signed in 2 neat lines. Emilia Devereux, Liam von Richter. Silence fell. The flute section of the orchestra began to play, drawing her back to the present. Guests erupted in applause as fresh flower petals scattered across the floor. Mr. Frederick nodded in satisfaction. "Congratulations. From today on, the Devereux daughter will grace the von Richter family as its esteemed daughter-in-law, and our son will ensure that every new project is underpinned by Europe's premier screenwriting talent." Those words cut through the air like a blade. Emilia heard "premier screenwriting talent" so plainly, she wondered whether she truly was an asset exchanged for power and profit. The crowd edged forward, snapping photos and offering blessings. She fought to maintain her posture, even as waves of jealousy churned within. After the ceremony, a brief tea reception was held in the main hall. Champagne glasses fizzed merrily as guests toasted the new alliance, discussing billion-dollar contracts and forthcoming ventures. Only Emilia and Liam maintained their distance. He sipped his champagne, then set the glass down on the cocktail table. Emilia lingered in a corner, clutching a small pre-written note. "Hello. What do you need? How may I help?" She extended it to him, her eyes pleading for a sliver of goodwill, though she knew he disliked such overtures. Liam skimmed the neat handwriting, raised an eyebrow, clear grammar, yet devoid of emotion. He folded the note and tossed it back to her. "No need." Then he turned and left the reception, leaving Emilia standing alone amid the celebratory throng. Her heart thundered. This was the first time she'd glimpsed the invisible chasm between herself and her husband in name, not only in status but in heart. Outside the castle, a sleek black limousine idled by the gate. The driver opened the door for Liam, he slid inside and the door closed, ending their inaugural encounter. Emilia watched the ancient tower recede against the evening sky, realizing her new life had begun, yet would she ever find a voice or a place in this sumptuous world of calculation? Dawn barely edged through the penthouse window when Emilia Devereux awoke from a fitful sleep haunted by last night's echoes. She sat up in her silk sheets, hand pressed to her chest, her heart pounding with anticipation and fear. The marriage contract lay signed, yet an undercurrent of unease weighed upon her. She chose a sleek black office dress, paired with a simple white blouse and leather pumps. On the bedside table lay her stack of notes, the only means by which she could speak in this new world. The white Devereux & Co limousine rolled out from central Paris toward Charles de Gaulle Airport. Emilia felt a chill as though the Swiss Highlands breeze had whispered through her room. Today she would officially enter her marital home. At Zurich Airport, the personal driver from von Richter International awaited her from the previous night. Bowing, he opened the car door and beckoned her inside. The black and white leather interior was silent and hushed. She sat quietly, back against the seat. Driving from the airport into central Zurich, the steel and glass headquarters of Richter International rose into view, reflecting the blue sky. On the ground floor, security and reception staff in tailored suits stood at attention. Emilia withdrew her note. "I am Emilia Devereux. I have an appointment with Mr. von Richter as scheduled." She handed it to the guard at the front desk. After a brief glance, he motioned her to wait. Around her, the clicking of keyboards and the hush of footsteps filled the lobby. Within minutes, Clarissa, Liam's executive assistant, arrived. Tall and impeccably dressed, she smiled but sized Emilia up with a practiced eye. Clarissa presented her business card, Clarissa Hartmann, executive assistant, then guided Emilia to a private elevator. The elevator stopped at level 32, doors opening onto a long corridor carpeted in slate gray, flanked by floor-to-ceiling windows offering a vista of the city below. In this realm, everyone moved quickly, dispassionately, with relentless efficiency. Emilia pressed on, her lips tight. At the door to the CEO's office, Clarissa knocked softly, knock, knock. Through the crack, her voice called, "Mr. von Richter is ready to see you." Emilia nodded and steeled herself. She opened the door and entered. The room was vast, a glossy ebony desk centered beneath lofty ceilings, shelves of books and a few potted plants around the perimeter, natural light streaming through clerestory windows. Behind the desk, Liam von Richter bent over paperwork. He looked up as she entered, his steely gray eyes flicking over her, curious, appraising. Emilia froze for a moment, her heart hammering. Unable to speak, she swiftly retrieved her notebook and pen. "Good morning. It is an honor." She held the paper out. Liam's stern voice, at last a spoken word, cut through. "Sit down." She inclined her head, eased into the chair, hands folded neatly on her lap, her gaze locked on him. Liam underlined her name on a roster with his black pen. Today's agenda, meeting with legal, followed by the board. "Have you prepared the documents I requested?" Emilia bent to fetch the folder from a small side table. She opened it and flipped through slide after slide, summarizing the copyright transfer terms and screenplay development plan. Each time her finger pointed to a figure, Liam glanced at her handwritten notes. "I request you amend Section 3.3 regarding royalty fees." She scribbled the revision onto her note slip, held it up, he reviewed it, then tapped his pen to signify approval. Clarissa stood behind, jotting down minutes. The meeting crackled with tension. Every question from Liam was delivered by note, every answer from Emilia likewise transmitted in writing. They spoke no words aloud, yet when their eyes met, she felt her chest tighten. After over an hour, Liam folded the final note, drummed his fingertips on the desktop. "Agreed. I will sign Section 3.3 once revised as proposed." Emilia presented the new slip, he reviewed, then stamped it with his signature. Liam rose and strolled to a gilded liquor cabinet. He poured a measure of whiskey, downed it in one breath, then set the glass aside. He turned, eyes cool. Meeting adjourned. Clarissa gave Emilia a discreet nod toward the door. Emilia rose, bowed, then handed him one last slip. "Thank you." He acknowledged only with a slight nod before she departed. Emilia descended in the elevator, her spirits heavy. In the car, she pressed her hand to the window, exhaling slowly. Here, silence was mandatory. Within these fortified walls of power, her voice was reduced to a whisper on paper. Yet she resolved that this was only the beginning. To survive in the von Richter household, she had to excel, not merely by her screenwriting talent but through unwavering resolve. Above all, she vowed to reclaim her voice. After the meeting in Zurich, Emilia and Liam's marriage and name only seemed to head down a different path. Each lived in their own world, two souls separated by 1,000 miles. That first evening after the stressful work, Emilia returned to the Devereux penthouse in Le Marais. The spacious apartment offered sweeping views of ancient rooftops and the Seine below. She strolled along the balcony, watched distant lamps glow warmly, then re-entered the living room. Her laptop still sat open on the small writing desk by the window. Her new screenplay project, The Warrior in the Heart of the City, hung unfinished. The production company awaited the final draft, but Emilia could not concentrate. She sat down, opened her notebook, and wrote, "Finalize the production budget estimate. Email it to investors." Those words on paper became her only way to remain a screenwriter, even though her voice was muted. Morning passed, the scene outside shifting with the hour, while silence weighed on her inside. She prepared a simple breakfast, toasted baguette, strawberry jam, black coffee, then sat to review dialogue lines for revision. But thoughts of Liam and the cold conference room in Zurich left her feeling adrift. Meanwhile, high above in the Zurich skyscraper, Liam shifted at his expansive desk. Daylight slanted through the tall windows, dancing across his steel desktop. He was reviewing the Q2 financial report, yet his mind lingered on Emilia's little white notes. At 10 o'clock he paged Human Resources. "Prepare a preliminary staffing plan for the Eastern Europe project. Also, update me on Ms. Devereux's progress today." He learned that Emilia had been adjusting costs all night and remained on schedule. He nodded to himself. He knew she was more than an alliance asset, she was a person who deserved his protection. Under the contract, Emilia needed to be in Zurich only twice a month, once for the quarterly meeting, once for a major signing. The rest of the time, she worked from Paris via digital note slips. When approval was required, he merely nodded on the video call. Ordinary days saw them rarely meet in person. On the first weekend since the marriage contract, Emilia took a TGV from Paris to Zurich. It was an autumn afternoon, a chill breeze scented with cedar and gray skies drifted through the train window. He met her on the platform and silently carried her suitcase to the car. They drove to the von Richter lakeside estate, white walls crept with jasmine, a pebble courtyard, interiors stark and minimalist. The villa exuded serene light but felt hollow. They had only 2 days together. Liam arranged a few receptions in the grand salon. Emilia sat quietly, listening. In the evenings, they dined in the private dining room. No words were exchanged. She ate in silence while he methodically sampled each dish before glancing to his papers. After another week apart, Emilia returned to Paris with a heavier heart. She sat by her window, gazing at the paper kite her mother had given her as a child, still hanging on the wall, a symbol of earlier freedom. She sighed and wrote in her notebook, "I shouldn't have to worry. Yet why does my heart ache whenever I'm away from him?" That question stabbed her mind. Though she was outwardly silent, her inner world swirled with unspoken emotion. Alone, Emilia realized that if their lives stayed so separate, their marriage would remain a hollow formality. She gazed at the black and white wedding photo, herself smiling lightly beside Liam's relentless seriousness. Folding the photo, she taped it to her wardrobe door and wrote, "I must break this distance. I must speak more." A strange resolve took root, not for business or reputation, but for herself. She needed to know whether her voice could touch his heart. Though their separate routines continued, Emilia felt at last a yearning to pierce the silence and reconnect with her icy husband. And in Liam's steel-gray eyes, she believed he too had realized, silence was no lasting solution. Thus began a new chapter of their silent love story, one fueled by determination and hope. The pale yellow glow of the Paris penthouse's living room lamps could not dispel the darkness that gripped Emilia Devereux's mind. She curled up on the velvet sofa, staring at the scrap of paper reading "I'm okay" stacked atop "Don't worry and everything will pass," the self-comforting phrases she'd written and rewritten for weeks. 2 months earlier, just after completing the first full draft of The Warrior in the heart of the city, Emilia had received an urgent call in Paris. Her mother, Adelaide Devereux, was accused by the press of embezzling charity funds. Messages and emails flooded social media, and soon appeared on front-page headlines across Europe. At the ensuing press conference, hundreds of camera lenses bore down on her. Reporters shouted questions: "Is Mrs. Devereux guilty? What do you think of your family's scandal?" Driving Emilia into a state of panic. Her heart felt as though it would shatter, her mind went blank, and in that moment she could not utter a single word. Doctors diagnosed her with temporary vocal paralysis brought on by psychological stress, conversion disorder. There was no physical injury, yet her body refused to speak, as if a phantom lodged itself in her throat, denying her even a whisper. Emilia locked herself in her room and lay on the bed in a daze. She folded a note reading "Mother, I'm sorry," and shoved it under her pillow. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears, but all around her was silence. For days she lacked the courage to leave home, avoiding prying eyes in the streets and pitying looks from friends and colleagues. Whenever someone rang her phone, whether a film producer or a close friend, she would open the chat window, type "Sorry, I can't speak," and hang up. The isolation gnawed at her like a pain she could not escape. She turned to her notebook for solace. Day 1, the doctor says this mental condition can improve. But why does my heart still feel so empty? Day 4, I'm playing "I Want to Break Free" in my head 100 times, but I dare not sing it. Day 10, if I cannot speak, who am I? Each page became a rung on an emotional ladder: anger, despair, a burning longing to speak. Sometimes she scrawled apologies to her mother or to herself for becoming such a burden. One rainy afternoon in Paris, Emilia stood before a full-length mirror. She parted her lips and tried to whisper a I, but heard nothing. Humiliation washed over her, and she simply wiped away her tears in silence. That night she fetched a set of printed phrase cards: "Hello, thank you, I'm sorry," and placed them by her pillow. The next morning she chose one, stuck it to the mirror, and read, "I can do this." That small act felt like a flicker of light in the blackness. Using her family health insurance, she booked a session with Dr. Marc Levine, a renowned psychotherapist in Paris. In his serene, simply furnished office, he played calming recordings and guided her through slow breathing exercises: inhale over 4 counts, exhale over 4 counts. At every session Emilia brought her notebook. Dr. Levine encouraged her to write down negative thoughts and then release them. For the first time she felt comforted, she was no longer fighting alone. Though she still could not speak, her heart felt a little lighter. On the eve of her next Zurich trip, Emilia lay on the sofa, gazing at a dried bougainvillea blossom on the coffee table. She quickly wrote in her notebook, "Tomorrow, I will face Liam without trembling." Though the phantom of her voicelessness lingered, she knew she could not retreat. She had to return, to work, to life, and above all, to reclaim her true voice. Meanwhile, in a cold, dark office in Zurich, Liam von Richter glanced at his phone and saw her message, "I'm afraid." He did not reply. Yet for the first time, he felt compelled to appear and protect the vulnerable woman he had married in name. Silence was not an end. For Emilia, it was merely the beginning of a journey to cast out her inner demons, so that her voice, and her heart, might ring true once more. Paris in early winter felt more somber than ever for Emilia. She had just completed her afternoon therapy session and slipped back into her silent penthouse when her phone began to buzz relentlessly. Hundreds of messages, emails, and social media comments all carried the same headline. A well-known blogger, Lu Nguyen, had published a 4,000-word article titled "Behind the Glamour: Screenwriter Emilia Devereux, a Ruthless Manipulator?" In it, Nguyen alleged that Emilia had orchestrated her mother's scandal as a publicity stunt to boost her new screenplay, citing unverified leaks and insinuating that her feigned muteness was merely a ploy for sympathy. Within 2 hours, the post went viral across Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, and Twitter. Anti-fan groups swarmed Emilia's profiles with vitriolic comments, "From what a fraud, to show us the footage of you screaming." Clusters of film producers who had lined up to meet her withdrew their offers at once. 3 co-production deals were cancelled, 2 sponsorships pulled, and her distribution agreements put on indefinite hold. The next morning, Emilia awoke amid the cold glow of aborted contracts and unread notifications. She scrolled through her phone in desperate hope for a supportive message, but found only taunts. "Out of money already? Go back to the countryside and farm with your parents. Mental breakdown won't get you anywhere, stop whining." She burst into tears, then tapped out a single, trembling chat. "I'm sorry." Before she could read the replies, she locked her screen and collapsed on the sofa. In the days that followed, Emilia hardly ventured outside. The penthouse, once a refuge of light, became her only safe zone. She curled up before her writing desk and wrote in her notebook. Day 1, "Mother, I don't know how to make this stop." Day 2, "I'm too afraid to go online or meet anyone." Day 3, "If my muteness is a joke, why does it feel so real?" At night, she could not sleep. Every ping of a notification jarred her awake. The ticking clock in the silent apartment felt like a relentless drumbeat. Then one evening, in Zurich, Liam von Richter arrived at the office earlier than usual. The PR team had flagged the blog post under the urgent headline "Media Crisis, Action Required," and he found himself scanning it with cold detachment. Images of Emilia hunched on her sofa and captions like "Screenwriter loses her voice, career in ruins" confronted him on his screen. He snapped his laptop shut and marched to the boardroom. He would not allow Emilia to face this storm alone. Paris was all but deserted under the yellow street lamps when Emilia sat by her window, watching the rain spatter across the balcony. A soft radio melody drifted in. "When you're down and troubled, I will comfort you." She sobbed at the refrain, as though it were a promise meant for her. In her trembling hand she held one final note. "Can you save me, please?" Within hours, Devereux and co. arranged an impromptu press briefing in the White Royale ballroom near the Arc de Triomphe. Flashbulbs popped as Emilia, wearing a tailored gray suit and smeared mascara, was led to the podium. Beside her sat the company secretary, typing Emilia's prepared statements onto a large screen. "Good evening. I am here to..." Reporters cut her off. "Are you taking responsibility for your mother's alleged embezzlement? Can you prove you didn't exploit your family's scandal? Will you return your screenplay contract?" Emilia managed only a nod before scribbling a note for the secretary. "I will answer fully after." But then the doors at the side of the stage swung open. Liam stepped in, unannounced, his presence silencing the room. He walked directly to the microphone, his calm authority commanding attention. "I am Liam von Richter," he began. "I am not here as the chairman's son but as the man who will defend Ms. Devereux." He turned to face the assembled press. "I have reviewed every claim, and they are unfounded rumors spread for cheap clicks. Ms. Devereux did not manufacture this scandal, she is its victim." Murmurs of surprise rippled through the crowd. Liam gestured to the backdrop poster bearing Emilia's image. "She is a gifted screenwriter who has contributed greatly to European culture. I demand you cease propagating falsehoods." Thunderous applause broke out. Emilia, still unable to speak, looked at him with profound gratitude. Instead of escorting her back to the Devereux penthouse, Liam invited Emilia to his riverside retreat near the Seine, a discreet villa he'd arranged for her safety. They sat together by the fireplace, sipping steaming cups of hot chocolate in silence. At last Emilia wrote on a fresh slip, "Thank you." He took the paper gently and replied, in his own handwriting, "No thanks needed. Just tell me when you need me." They spent the rest of the night exchanging notes about her fears. "Social media is a battlefield. I'm terrified of losing my voice again," and he listened intently, holding her from behind when she trembled. For the first time in months, Emilia felt a steady shoulder beneath her. The next morning, Liam brought her coffee and a binder of press release drafts. They convened with Clarissa and the legal team via video call in a cozy study set up at the villa. Emilia insisted on including a 30-second behind-the-scenes video, images of her at work, writing at her desk. Liam approved immediately. "Excellent idea. Clarissa, arrange the shoot today." By afternoon, the final press release was ready, a clear repudiation of false claims, legal requests to remove defamatory articles, and an invitation to a live online Q&A. Liam and Emilia collaborated over every sentence, their partnership now forged in solidarity. As twilight fell over Lake Geneva, Liam drove Emilia to a private dock. He offered her a lavender bouquet, her favorite, and helped her into a small wooden launch. They glided across the still water beneath a sky blushing pink and purple. "I treasure these hours alone with you," he wrote on paper. She replied, "Me too." They talked of dreams, Emilia's hope that the warrior in the heart of the city would inspire audiences with its tale of resilience and love, Liam's vision to fund scholarships for young people with speech disabilities, encouraging them to tell their stories through film. Under the lantern's glow, he brushed a lock of hair from her face and whispered, "I've been waiting for this moment for so long." He kissed her, softly, deeply, with no stumbling, no paper between them. Emilia closed her eyes, feeling both her heart and her voice awaken. Weeks later, at Geneva's Grand Théâtre de Genève, The Warrior in the Heart of the City premiered to standing ovations. On the red carpet, Emilia shimmered in a midnight blue gown, her hand clasped in Liam's. As the final credits rolled and applause thundered, Liam rose from his VIP seat and took the microphone. "I am Liam von Richter, co-producer of this film, not just because of business ties, but because of my love and respect for the courageous artist before you. Emilia, will you truly be my partner, on screen and in life?" A single, clear yes rang out. Cameras flashed as he drew her into a public embrace and a celebratory kiss. 1 year later, in the golden light of Provence, Emilia and Liam walked hand in hand with their little son, Max, through fields of lavender. The house behind them, a white villa with terracotta roof tiles, had become home. Emilia, in a floral summer dress, handed her son a cup of freshly squeezed juice, then turned to Liam. "I never imagined my voice could guide me here." He kissed her forehead. "And now our voices, ours and his, will write countless new stories." Inside her study, a new screenplay lay open on the desk, "Family on the Countryside," its first line signed. A new chapter begins. As the sun set over endless fields, the von Richters stood together, voices united, hearts intertwined, ready to face every dawn and every storm, side by side.